The moment Alexander Reed's eyes met those of the child sitting 3 rows ahead, his world stopped spinning. Those eyes, his eyes, stared back at him from a face he'd never seen before. If you're wondering how this story ends, you'll need to stay with me until the final moments when everything changes. Like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you never miss another life-changing story like this one. Alexander gripped the armrests of his first-class seat, his knuckles turning white. 5 years as a single father had taught him to trust his instincts, and right now, every cell in his body was screaming that the little girl sitting beside his ex-girlfriend wasn't just any child. "Sir, would you like something to drink before takeoff?" The flight attendant's voice barely registered as Alexander's mind raced through calculations. The child appeared to be around 4 years old. It had been exactly 5 years since Vanessa had walked out of his life without explanation. "Just water, thank you," he managed, his throat suddenly dry. This was supposed to be his fresh start, a weekend getaway with Claire, the woman who had finally convinced him to open his heart again after years of focusing solely on raising his son, Jackson. At 38, Alexander had built a technology empire worth billions, but the empire of his personal life had crumbled long ago. His phone buzzed with a text from Claire, "Boarding now. Can't wait to see you in Santorini. Red heart." Alexander stared at the message, guilt washing over him. Claire deserved his full attention, not a man distracted by ghosts from his past. He glanced again at Vanessa, who was helping the little girl color in a book, seemingly oblivious to his presence just rows behind. The child laughed, a sound so pure it pierced Alexander's heart. It reminded him of Jackson's laugh, the one bright light in his life since Vanessa had disappeared without a trace. His son was staying with Alexander's parents this weekend, excited for his father to make a new friend, as Alexander had carefully explained. As the plane began taxiing, Alexander made a decision. He couldn't spend the next 4 hours pretending he hadn't seen them. With trembling legs, he unbuckled his seatbelt and stood. "Sir, you need to remain seated during takeoff," the flight attendant warned. "I just need to speak with someone." "It's urgent," Alexander replied, already moving forward. When he reached their row, Vanessa looked up, and the color drained from her face. "Alex," she whispered, her voice a mixture of shock and something else, fear. "Hello, Vanessa." His voice was steadier than he felt. "It's been a while." The little girl looked up at him with curious eyes, his eyes, and smiled. "Who are you?" Before Vanessa could answer, the flight attendant appeared at Alexander's side. "Sir, I must insist you return to your seat immediately." "We'll talk after takeoff," Alexander said to Vanessa, his tone making it clear this wasn't a request. Back in his seat, Alexander's mind whirled with questions. Why had Vanessa left so suddenly? Why had she never told him about the child? And what was he going to tell Claire, who would be boarding any minute now? The universe, it seemed, had a cruel sense of timing. Just as the realization of his potential fatherhood was sinking in, Claire appeared in the aisle, her smile radiant as she spotted him. "There you are," she exclaimed, sliding into the seat beside him. "I was worried I'd miss the flight." Alexander forced a smile, but Claire knew him too well. Her expression shifted immediately. "What's wrong? You look like you've seen a ghost." In many ways, he had. "Claire, there's something I need to tell you," he began, but the captain's announcement about takeoff procedures cut him off. "Hold that thought," Claire said, squeezing his hand. "Whatever it is, we can talk about it once we're in the air." Alexander nodded, knowing the conversation ahead would change everything. As the plane accelerated down the runway, he felt his carefully planned life veering wildly off course. 90 minutes into the flight, Alexander had explained everything to Claire, about Vanessa's sudden disappearance 5 years ago, about seeing her now with a child who looked eerily like him, about his suspicion that he might have another child he never knew existed. Claire sat in silence, processing his words. Finally, she spoke. "You need to talk to her, Alex. You need to know the truth. What about us? What about our weekend? Alexander asked, though he already knew the answer. Claire's smile was sad but understanding. Some things are more important than a romantic getaway. If that little girl is yours, nothing else matters right now. Alexander felt a rush of gratitude for Claire's compassion. I don't deserve you. Probably not, she teased gently. Now go. I'll be right here when you get back. With a deep breath, Alexander made his way back to Vanessa's row. The little girl was asleep now, her head resting against Vanessa's arm. We need to talk, he said quietly, sliding into the empty seat across the aisle. Vanessa nodded, resignation in her eyes. Her name is Sophia. And yes, she's yours. The confirmation hit Alexander like a physical blow. Why? It was the only word he could manage, encompassing 1,000 questions. Vanessa looked down at the sleeping child. You were just starting to make it big. The company was everything to you. When I found out I was pregnant, I knew you weren't ready for a family. That wasn't your decision to make, Alexander said, anger seeping into his voice. I had a right to know my daughter. I know that now, Vanessa admitted. I've made so many mistakes, Alex. But she's the one thing I got right. She gently brushed a strand of hair from Sophia's face. She's smart, kind, stubborn, just like you. Does she know about me? She knows her father is someone special who couldn't be with us. I never spoke badly of you. I wouldn't do that. Alexander struggled to process the magnitude of what he'd lost, 4 years of his daughter's life, gone forever. Where have you been living? Boston. I got a teaching job at a private school. It's been challenging, but we've managed. Without any support from me, the billionaire father who didn't even know she existed, Alexander said bitterly. I made my choice, Alex. I've lived with it every day. Alexander looked at Sophia, studying her features, his mother's nose, his chin, his eyes. Another realization struck him. Jackson has a sister he's never met. Vanessa's eyes widened. Jackson? You have a son? Yes. He's 5. His mother and I weren't together long. She's not in the picture anymore, her choice. The irony wasn't lost on either of them. So you're a single father too, Vanessa said softly. For the past 4 years. It hasn't been easy, but he's everything to me. Alexander pulled out his phone and showed her a picture of a smiling boy with dark curly hair. Vanessa's eyes filled with tears. They look so much alike. They're siblings who have never met because of choices we made, Alexander said. The weight of that truth hung between them. From across the plain, Claire watched the interaction, her heart breaking for the man she'd fallen in love with and the complicated situation he now faced. When Alexander finally returned to his seat, his face was a mask of conflicting emotions. She's mine, he said simply. Her name is Sophia. She's 4 years old. Claire took his hand. What are you going to do? I don't know. Everything's changed in the span of a few hours. I have a daughter I never knew existed. Jackson has a sister. He looked at Claire with pained eyes. And you signed up for a romantic weekend, not this mess. Life is messy, Alex. That's what makes it real. Claire's voice was gentle but firm. Whatever you decide to do, I'm here. Alexander felt a surge of emotion for this remarkable woman. Our weekend in Santorini will happen another time, Claire finished for him. Right now, you need to focus on your children. As the plane began its descent toward their layover in Athens, Alexander made another decision. He returned to Vanessa's row one more time. Where are you headed? He asked. Paris, Vanessa replied. I'm presenting at an education conference. Sophia's coming with me. Alexander nodded, formulating a plan. I'd like to spend time with her, with both of you. I want to get to know my daughter, and I want her to meet her brother. Vanessa hesitated. Alex, I can't just upend her life. You already did that when you decided not to tell me about her, Alexander interrupted, then immediately regretted his harsh tone. I'm sorry. That wasn't fair. But please, Vanessa, I've missed 4 years. Don't make me miss any more. After a long moment, Vanessa nodded. What do you propose? Change your plans. Come with us to Santorini. We'll get separate accommodations, of course. But it will give us time to figure this out, to let Sophia get to know me gradually. What about your girlfriend? Your romantic weekend? Alexander glanced back at Claire, who gave him an encouraging nod. She understands. This is more important. When the plane landed in Athens, Alexander made arrangements for everyone to continue to Santorini together. Claire insisted on taking her own room, giving Alexander space to focus on this unexpected family reunion. That evening, as the sun set over the Aegean Sea, Alexander sat on the terrace of his villa with Sophia, watching her draw pictures of everything she'd seen that day. Are you really my daddy? She asked suddenly, looking up at him with those familiar eyes. Alexander's heart clenched. Yes, Sophia, I am. Mommy said you couldn't be with us because you were busy doing important things. Your mommy was trying to protect you, Alexander said carefully. But the truth is, I didn't know about you until today on the airplane. If I had known, I would have been with you every day. Sophia considered this with the straightforward logic of a 4-year-old. Do you have other kids? I have a son named Jackson. He's your brother. Sophia's eyes widened with delight. I have a brother. Where is he? He's staying with his grandparents, your grandparents too. Would you like to meet him? Sophia nodded enthusiastically. Can he come here? I think that can be arranged, Alexander said, already pulling out his phone to call his parents. 2 days later, Jackson arrived in Santorini, his small face a mixture of confusion and excitement as Alexander explained that he had a sister. The moment Jackson and Sophia met was one Alexander would never forget. They circled each other cautiously at first, then Jackson offered to show Sophia his favorite toy dinosaur, and just like that, a bond began to form. As Alexander watched his children play together, Vanessa joined him on the terrace. They're getting along well, she observed. Kids are resilient, Alexander replied. More resilient than adults sometimes. Vanessa nodded, her eyes fixed on the children. I've been thinking about what happens next. I can't keep Sophia from you anymore, I won't. But my life, my job, everything is in Boston. And my life is in San Francisco, Alexander said. But I'm not willing to be a part-time father to either of my children. So what do we do? Alexander had been considering this question since the moment he'd recognized Sophia on the plane. I have offices in Boston. I can split my time between coasts, at least for now. Jackson and I can come to Boston for part of each month. You do that? They're siblings, Vanessa. They deserve to know each other, to grow up together as much as possible. Alexander turned to face her. I missed 4 years with my daughter. I won't miss any more. From the doorway, Claire watched the scene unfold, her heart full despite the bittersweet realization that her relationship with Alexander had fundamentally changed. When he noticed her, he excused himself from Vanessa and joined Claire. You're good with them, Claire said, nodding toward the children. Both of them. Thank you for understanding, Alexander said. Not many people would. Claire smiled. Life rarely goes according to plan, Alex. Sometimes the detours lead us exactly where we need to be. As the sun set on their final evening in Santorini, Alexander sat on the beach with both his children, building a sandcastle together. Jackson was patiently showing Sophia how to pack the sand just right, while she added seashells as decoration. Watching them, Alexander felt a sense of peace he hadn't experienced in years. The path ahead wouldn't be easy, co-parenting with Vanessa across different cities, integrating two children who had just met, balancing his responsibilities as a father with running his company. But for the first time, he felt complete. Claire had decided to return to San Francisco early, giving Alexander space to focus on his newly expanded family. They'd parted as friends, with a promise to see where life took them once things settled down. As darkness fell, Alexander gathered his children close. "Look at the stars," he said, pointing upward. "No matter where we are, San Francisco, Boston, anywhere, we're all under the same sky." "Like a family?" Sophia asked. "Exactly like a family," Alexander replied, his voice thick with emotion. "Our family." 6 months later, Alexander had restructured his entire life. He'd opened a major office in Boston and purchased a home there, while maintaining his primary residence in San Francisco. He and Vanessa had established a co-parenting relationship built on mutual respect and a shared commitment to their daughter's happiness. Jackson and Sophia spent time together in both cities, forming a bond that grew stronger with each visit. They had their disagreements, as siblings do, but their connection was undeniable. On a crisp autumn day in Boston, Alexander watched his children playing in the park, marveling at how quickly life could change. A chance encounter on an airplane had revealed a truth that had been hidden for years, giving him a daughter he never knew and his son a sister. Claire had remained in his life, though their relationship had evolved into a deep friendship. She understood that Alexander's priority was creating stability for his children, and she respected his choice to focus on them. As for Vanessa, they had found a way forward that honored their past while acknowledging that they had both changed. They weren't the same people who had fallen in love years ago, but they were committed to being the best parents they could be. Life rarely follows the path we expect. Sometimes, it takes an unexpected detour to show us what truly matters. For Alexander Reed, a billionaire who had everything money could buy, the greatest wealth turned out to be the love of his children and the family they were building together, one day at a time. As the sun began to set, Alexander called to his children. "Time to go home." They ran to him, one on each side, taking his hands in theirs. In that moment, Alexander knew with absolute certainty that no business deal, no amount of money, no success could ever compare to the simple joy of walking hand in hand with his children. Sometimes, the most important journeys aren't the ones we plan, but the ones that find us when we least expect them. And sometimes, the most beautiful destinations aren't places at all, but the people who make our lives complete. If you've enjoyed this journey with Alexander and his family, please like this video and subscribe to our channel for more stories that touch the heart and remind us of what truly matters in life. Remember, it's never too late for a new beginning, and sometimes, the most unexpected encounters can lead to our greatest blessings.